Remarrying with a kid? Talk about a defective product.
Today is the long-awaited elementary school entrance ceremony. I wanted to watch over my child's big day with a sense of calm, but I ran into my ex-husband, John. It doesn't feel like 9 years have passed. John casually strikes up a conversation.
So, are you alone? Where's your husband? Maybe you remarried just to offload the kid? I feel bad for you, being used like that.
Or, maybe you're infertile and just happy to have a kid, even someone else's. Why do I have to be belittled by someone from my past? I feel like I'm reaching my limit. But the important entrance ceremony is about to start. Just endure, endure. That's all I can do right now. Even though I was enduring, somehow John ends up being terrified of my serious husband. He freaks out on his own, trembling and acting aggressively. I'm Lily, and I'm 24 years old. I just recently got married and moved to a tranquil rural area. My husband, John, was born in this small town. We first met here too. A year ago, while traveling with friends in a rental car, following the GPS led us into a narrow country lane and we got lost. Despite feeling anxious, we pressed on and before we knew it, we were smack in the middle of a rice field. In a panic, I attempted a U-turn and got stuck in the mud. The car wouldn't move forward or backward. Just as I stood there dumbfounded, John appeared out of nowhere. He quickly called for help, and we managed to get the car out of the mud.
Oh, you saved us.
Then, since you're my senior, how about a special price, $3,000?
Hey, you're ripping me off.
John, joking around with the coworker he had called for help, looked cooler than any guy I'd ever met.
Thank you so much.
Don't mention it. I can't just ignore a cute girl in trouble, right?
As a thank you, I treated him to dinner, and from there, our relationship developed and we eventually got married. The town John drew me to is a slightly thriving city, neighboring the next town over. It's not exactly rural, but I'd say it's quite the countryside. John's parents built a house next door as a wedding gift, so we're incredibly fortunate. However, the area is mostly residential, and you need to drive for everything, even just to get a soda from a vending machine. Being a novice driver and still shaken by my previous mishap getting stuck in the mud, I focused heavily on practicing driving. I eventually got comfortable driving, which was a relief, but I soon realized that driving skills weren't the problem. John, surrounded by his local friends, has a very active social life. John and his friends love barbecuing, so our backyard often turns into a festival with 4 or 5 of his coworkers.
Hey Lily, we're out of beer, and serve some drinks to my co-workers. You should do that without being told, being the wife.
It's not even summer yet, but this morning's news warned about heat stroke. It's an unusually hot day. And here I am, endlessly flipping meat at the barbecue grill. My makeup is melting off with the sweat. Lily, where are the drinks? And there's no more meat either. I'd like to eat some of that Wagyu beef soon. How long will you make us wait? If you're this slow at a simple barbecue, how many days would it take you to make a normal meal? One of his coworkers teased, and everyone burst out laughing. John joined in the laughter too.
Sorry.
Carried by the mood, I laughed too. Sweat ran into my eyes and stung. Tears blurred my vision, but they were indistinguishable from the sweat, so nobody around noticed. I kept smiling at almost strangers and continued working. I thought I was sociable and enjoyed socializing, but still, hanging out with his friends was just exhausting. The teasing from his coworkers and being treated like a maid is painful. But as a wife and a newcomer, I guess this is how it's supposed to be, so I endure. Since I find it hard to join in their rowdiness, I might as well stick to grilling meat and give a vague smile. However, being the only woman almost every time at a gathering of men is indeed irritating.
Seriously, Lily is so clueless.
No worries, I'll serve the drinks to everyone. Oh, everyone, you seem happy, you all like me too much. The attendees always vary, but Sarah, with her shrill voice, is always there. It seems she was the center of attention until I came along. Initially, the men approached me, but Sarah drove them off like pests.
Lily is John's wife. No touching, no getting fresh with her.
I was grateful for Sarah being so reliable, but it was only a moment before I saw her true colors. Like John and the other men. I'm tasked with everything from preparing to cleaning up the barbecue, while Sarah is surrounded by the men like she's at a host club. Without getting up, she orders, "Lily, gimme some fried noodles without bell peppers and carrots." The only other female participant was not my ally. Officially. These barbecues are held for me to mingle with the local crowd since I'm from out of town. But 6 months into my marriage, I still don't feel integrated. This barbecue was just another session of listening to the junior men's tall tales.
So there I was, took down a whole gang of 100 guys by myself, just with my bare hands, you know, bare hands.
Was that fight even realistically possible? I doubt it, but I know they don't need any response other than "Wow, that's amazing." After everyone leaves the barbecue, my restlessness continues.
Don't believe that guy's story, it was all exaggerated.
It was actually me who rushed in and took down those guys after he got beaten up. I usually keep quiet to let others shine. But, man, if you mention John's name around this town, everyone shivers, even folks from the next town over are scared of me. Funny, right? I'm usually so nice. After enduring countless heroic tales from the juniors, now John starts telling me his own. Again, no response is allowed other than "Wow, that's amazing." I'm more exhausted from listening to their bravado and dealing with Sarah's queen act than from serving at the barbecue. And my worries continue. As I'm left alone in the backyard cleaning up after the barbecue, my mother-in-law peeks out from next door.
It looked like you all had a fun and lively day today.
Yeah.
I can't really say I had fun. My mother-in-law speaks gently, advising me.
But when are you two going to have kids? Barbecues are more fun with family, right?
You've been married for half a year now, so plan it out. Lily, you're almost 25, right? You should start having kids soon. Otherwise, by the time you get to the third one, it'll be a high-risk pregnancy. How about getting pregnant before John's 27th birthday in August?
Yes, well, but these things are blessings, aren't they?
I evade the topic, but she cheerfully responds.
Don't worry.
At 25, you can have babies easily. A girl first would be nice, they're easier to raise. Then a boy, the third one doesn't matter. Lily, you're beautiful, so the kids will definitely be cute. I can't wait. It seems my mother-in-law means no harm. Actually, I'm tired of hearing this speech. Just like John's co-workers' heroic tales and John's, my mother-in-law happily talks about her future grandchildren. 2 years have passed since I married John. John's friends he used to hang out with are gradually getting married and having children, reducing the number of people at gatherings, but the festive barbecues continue as usual. And I still haven't had a child. So, essentially, nothing about my situation has changed since 2 years ago. However, the attitudes of those around me have completely shifted. John and his juniors are increasingly taking me for granted. My mother-in-law's comments have become distinctly sharper.
John will be 30 soon.
Lily, you're 27, right? It wouldn't be unusual to have a couple of kids by now. I feel sorry for John, why won't you make him a father? If I could, I would love to become a mother. Yet, I haven't gotten pregnant in these past 2 years. I wanted to get tested at a hospital and even consider fertility treatments if necessary. However, both my mother-in-law and husband strongly opposed it due to concerns about public perception. My once cheerful mother-in-law now calls me useless. It's taken for granted that as John's wife, I should perfectly manage all household duties, work part-time at a factory during weekdays, and entertain John's friends on weekends. Early mornings or late evenings. I also help my in-laws with their business without pay, which makes my schedule extremely hard with no time to rest. It seems I'm considered useless unless I have a child.
If only I could have a child.
Feeling cornered. I tried folk remedies and bought supplements and traditional medicines online that are supposed to help with fertility. But, no results. It's no surprise, really. John and I hardly engage in the activities necessary for having a child.
All this talk about trying for kids is so annoying, it's a turn-off.
Despite being pressured by his parents, John seems unwilling to cooperate. A woman can't get pregnant through effort alone, yet I was desperate not to miss the few chances we had. All these futile efforts became pointless one day.
Let's get a divorce.
John suddenly proposed during a typical breakfast, without any warning.
What? Why?
Because you can't have kids, what about an heir for our family?
That's something we should work on together.
His mother interrupted at that point.
Lily, do you know what the primary duty of a wife is? It's to produce an heir.
Yes, that's...
I looked down, and his mother spoke with a slight kindness.
It's okay, Lily.
When I looked up, both his mother and John were smiling.
We have an heir now, so don't worry.
I tilted my head, not understanding. John's smile quickly twisted into a mocking sneer.
Yeah, we have an heir because, Sarah is pregnant.
Unlike you, who couldn't get it done in 2 years, Sarah succeeded on the first try.
See, Sarah is admirable.
So, John and Sarah had an affair, and Sarah got pregnant. Does that mean I'm being discarded as his wife? Though I understood, I neither cried nor showed anger, just stood there dazed. The next day, euphoric about their first grandchild, my in-laws handed me $10,000 and kicked me out of the house. Surprisingly, John, his parents, and even Sarah came to see me off.
I'll do my best to have a healthy baby, Lily. Don't despair just because you're infertile. Well, take care. Bye-bye.
They didn't watch me leave, they just went back into the house where I had lived. Since that one-sided divorce, 9 years have passed. Now, I am 37 years old. Today, I dressed more stylishly than usual, wearing a bright-colored suit with a vibrant corsage at the chest. Today is the elementary school entrance ceremony. The schoolyard is adorned with cherry blossoms, celebrating the start of the new student's journey. Parents gather in the gymnasium, eagerly awaiting the entrance of the new students.
Isn't that Lily?
I was excited, holding my digital camera, but a voice from behind sent a chill down my spine. It was a vulgar voice, ill-suited for the joyous occasion of the entrance ceremony. The owner of the voice forcibly peered into my face.
Wow, it really is Lily. What are you doing here? Why are you at my school? Huh? Hey, don't ignore me.
I reluctantly looked toward the cheerful man. The man I made eye contact with was undoubtedly my ex-husband, John.
No way, seriously, it's Lily.
Huh, why are you at our school? Oh, I get emails about suspicious persons at school, but Lily, a suspicious person too. Wow, a suspicious person crashing the entrance ceremony. Next to John stood Sarah, unchanged even after 9 years. Dressed in a flashy miniskirt suit and elaborate hairstyle, as if she belonged in a nightclub. I didn't want to be associated with such people, lest others think I'm the same.
I came because it's my child's entrance ceremony.
I only said that much without turning around, and John and Sarah burst out laughing.
Did you hear that? She said my child, infertile, yet she says that.
Creepy, definitely suspicious, infertile and all.
The gym was somewhat noisy, but their voices were louder than anyone else's. Unable to stand it any longer, I spoke up.
After we parted, I remarried. The ceremony is about to start. So please take your seat and be quiet.
I said coldly, and then decided to ignore them completely.
Wow, remarried to a guy with kids. Huh, a defective product.
Unbelievably, John and Sarah sat down next to me. Sarah proudly lifted her chin and caressed her stomach. A quick glance confirmed that her belly was as rounded as it was 9 years ago. Without anyone asking, Sarah started babbling.
Noticed, did you? This is my 5th one.
The child entering school today is my 3rd. It's so easy for me to have kids, sorry that you're infertile, Lily. As I kept my gaze forward, John poked me annoyingly with his finger, intruding familiarly.
Don't ignore me.
So, you're alone, where's your husband? Did your new husband just dump his kids on you? I get it, your husband's a loser, huh? I came just to watch my child's proud moment, yet why must I be denigrated by someone from my past? I feel like I'm reaching my breaking point. But the important entrance ceremony is about to start. Just endure. That's all I can do right now. Soon after, the entrance ceremony began. When the new students entered, John and Sarah started making a fuss like it was a pop concert. However, they quieted down during the ceremony itself. I thought they knew to behave, but then I was appalled to see them bored, playing games on their smartphones. It's sad that parents who should be role models for their children behave this way. They were so engrossed in their smartphone games that they paid no attention to the principal's speech or the parent representative's address.
Well, I got a rare item in the item spin.
Look, we're not even friends, but John casually talks to me. Even if they whisper, it stands out in a quiet place, and I wish they wouldn't involve me. John poked my shoulder with a bored expression when I gave no response. What's with the attitude? Is it fun attending a stepchild's entrance ceremony? Who cares about someone else's kid, right? John kept taunting, as if testing how long I could remain unresponsive.
Are you scared of your remarried husband? Like, you can't oppose him?
Well, he's the kind of loser who dumps his kids on his wife and doesn't even come to the entrance ceremony. The kids will probably tattle on you to him if you don't handle things right, right? John nodded to himself as if confirming his own assumptions.
I'm the kind of dad who comes to the entrance ceremony for my cute kids.
I guess I'm a hands-on dad, which is pretty normal these days. Maybe your husband is just a deadbeat. Was your remarriage just to offload his kids onto you? You must feel pretty used. Or, are you just happy to have a child, even if it's someone else's? The low murmurs of insult wouldn't stop. Next to John, Sarah giggled. It's during the ceremony. Endure, just endure.
John is actually a pretty kind dad.
He always comes to the entrance ceremony and the sports day. If only you could have gotten pregnant, you could have been truly happy with John.
Got dumped by me, who was kind, and snagged by a loser, huh? I kind of feel responsible.
Endure, endure, no, I can't take it anymore. I don't want my child or husband to be ridiculed any further.
I'll introduce you to my husband.
I muttered in a pointed voice without looking at John and Sarah, keeping my eyes straight ahead. I'll let them see that my husband is not the loser they think he is.
Huh? Where is he? Where's your not-so-great husband?
John looked around, pretending to search. I kept my eyes on the stage and responded.
He's right there, the man giving the congratulatory speech as the parent representative of the new students. That's my husband.
Oh.
John and Sarah, who had shown no interest in the ceremony, finally looked up at the stage. There stood a man confidently delivering his speech. That man is my proud husband, Mike. He wasn't sitting next to me only because he had a role as the representative of the new students' parents, he was, of course, watching over our child's proud moment. He's nothing like a man who would leave all the parenting to the mother or show no interest in his children.
What? A representative just likes to show off. Odd.
John and Sarah were slightly flustered. Their dismay was evident at the sight of Mike, who was far more serious than they had imagined. Mike has actively taken on roles like being an officer in our child's preschool and the local community association. The first time he volunteered was during a tense meeting at the preschool, where everyone else was looking down, unable to stand the heavy atmosphere, and he stepped up. Mike is a big man of few words and might seem intimidating at first glance. But at his core, he is serious and has sincerely dedicated himself to the preschool and our community. He will likely be just as active in the elementary school.
With this, I conclude the brief greeting on behalf of the parents.
Thank you for today, April 2024, representative of the new students' parents, Mike. Mike finished his speech and bowed. I glanced at John, who, strangely, was pale and trembling slightly.
That man can't be.
It's odd he's so shocked just because my husband is a serious man. John huddled closer to Sarah, shrinking in size. After that, John and his group became quiet and the ceremony concluded without further issue. I quickly distanced myself from John and his company after the ceremony. Mike was apparently caught up in a conversation and didn't come out of the gym for several minutes. Peeking inside, I saw he was trapped talking to the chatty neighborhood lady. This might take a while. I stood alone at the entrance, looking up at the cherry blossoms swaying in the wind. Then, John and his group, who had been watching me from a distance, deliberately came over and started bothering me again.
Alone, huh? That guy earlier was just a bluff for a husband.
Wasn't he? Look, that man is with his real wife in the gym. See, I knew it was strange to think you were his wife.
Embarrassing yourself with lies. You just wanted to seem impressive because we're so in love, right?
It seems they've convinced themselves again that Mike isn't my husband. And that I am just a pitiful woman deceived by a worthless man.
But really, our kid was the cutest.
John crossed his arms and closed his eyes, reminiscing about his cute child's proud moment. Despite being more restless than the new first graders, constantly playing games and whispering, he seemed deeply moved.
So, which one was your stepchild? Lily, introduce me.
He's not a stepchild, he's my own child.
Sure, infertile and all, you don't have to lie.
John and Sarah smirked smugly. Just then, my son came running over with an innocent smile. Honestly, I didn't want Sam to be near them, but they are parents of a classmate, after all. I couldn't blatantly avoid them in front of Sam.
Mom, did I answer loudly enough?
Yes, you did, you were so cool.
I proudly stroked Sam's head. When I glanced over at John and his group, their smiles had vanished.
He really does look just like Lily.
They must have imagined a stepchild who looks nothing like me. But Sam and I could almost be called identical. It's evident we're parent and child just by looking.
Yes, we do look alike, because he is my biological child.
Wait, but you're supposed to be infertile.
Even after seeing Sam, they still cling to the infertility insult. I wonder if they can think of any insult other than that one-trick pony.
After you divorced me, I remarried and got pregnant right away.
I didn't have any luck when I was with John. Back then, I struggled because I couldn't get pregnant. But not having a child with John turned out to be a blessing in disguise as it led to a clean break. Now I'm truly grateful for that. Having lost their ammunition to degrade me as infertile, they glared at me with sour faces. Chin tucked, brows furrowed, they even chewed their gums like they were gnashing teeth. Resembling a perfect image of a thug. I quickly urged Sam to return to his classroom. I never thought, even in my middle and high school days, let alone now in my early 40s as a parent, that I'd still be dealing with this kind of behavior. These days, it's rare to see children who visibly appear as delinquents, making John and Sarah seem like an endangered species.
So what?
You're saying it's John's fault, not yours, just so you know, all 5 of our kids are John's children, no lies, Sarah suddenly barked out. I knew from the start that a sensible conversation was not possible. Interacting with them is just a waste of time. However, as I tried to walk away ignoring them, John grabbed my shoulder.
Talking back to me.
I didn't want to be disturbed by John, someone I had cut ties with 9 years ago. As I tried to shake off his hand, John was suddenly covered by a dark shadow. Turning around in confusion, he saw Mike standing there, imposingly. Without a word, Mike gently moved John's hand off me. Even though nothing was really done to him, John couldn't stop trembling. Meanwhile, Mike, even through his suit, had muscles that were visibly bulging, his presence overwhelmingly intimidating. He was about twice as broad as John and a head taller. Mike looked down on John from above.
Is there a problem?
Mike asked in a deep, rumbling voice.
No, everything's fine. This has nothing to do with you, Mike.
John forced a smile, trying to ingratiate himself with Mike.
Oh, you're Mike from the next town over, right? I've always admired you.
While backing away, John tried to cozy up to Mike. It seems John knew of Mike. Mike doesn't talk much about himself, but I've heard stories from others. Since his school days, he's been well-built and imposing, never needing to raise his voice or his hand, yet somehow he was feared. Perhaps being a loner, not hanging around with friends, also commanded respect. There's also a legendary story, though its truth is unclear, that Mike once single-handedly fought and won against some scary people who challenged him. Mike denies it, but people around believe it to be true. John, who lived in the same generation in a neighboring town, had also heard rumors about Mike. John used to boast, when people hear the name John, everyone in this town shakes, but now, his bravado was nowhere to be seen. John was all smiles and bows, fawning over Mike. Sarah also laughed sloppily and clung to Mike's thick arm. While some men might enjoy being touched so casually, Mike appeared extremely displeased and shook off Sarah's hand.
Don't touch my husband.
I blurted out unexpectedly. John and Sarah froze, their eyes wide open. In that moment, Mike walked over to me and put his arm around my shoulder. John must have suspected that Mike and I were truly married, but he was likely too frightened to admit it. Hesitantly, John spoke up.
Lily, you're married.
John looked confused.
I am his wife, yes.
I stated clearly. Mike nodded deeply, and finally, John's face went pale.
No, that can't be. Is that a lie?
This was the second time today he questioned the truth in disbelief. John, who had been glaring at me just moments ago, now rounded his back like a different person.
It seems you were quite friendly with my wife. I'd like to join the conversation too.
No, it's okay.
I heard you.
You were discussing infertility, weren't you? But really? Discussing such a delicate topic loudly, especially on a joyous occasion like an entrance ceremony, how appropriate is that? John shrank even smaller. Sweating profusely, he began to back away slowly.
I'm sorry.
Not caring about getting his suit dirty, John knelt on the concrete covered in sand from the playground.
I didn't know. I had no idea Lily, Mrs. Lily was your wife.
As John looked like he might bang his head on the concrete, Mike stopped him. Even though he merely touched his shoulder gently, John jumped again.
So you are John. I've heard about you from Lily. It seems you were quite harsh to her in the past.
No,
Mike helped John up with one hand, squatting down to meet his eye level, and smiled slightly.
But that's all in the past. Now, as parents, let's both act in a way that won't embarrass our children.
His deep, resonant voice filled the air. John could barely muster a reply, yes. Tears welled up in his eyes as he trembled, looking like a poorly controlled puppet. Mike's eyes narrowed, his lips unmoved.
It's a promise.
His simple reminder hit John like a bullet, causing him to stagger backward and fall on his rear. John had boasted about his misdeeds, but in front of a stronger presence, he was like a puppy curling its tail. It was pitiful to realize he was just that kind of person. Mike, once known as a tough guy in the neighboring town, has completely transformed into a good father, whereas John and Sarah haven't grown up at all since their school days. They fearfully lament the past Mike. But does the reputation of being feared in this town still have the power to subdue others today? If power works anywhere, it's only within their narrow community. John and Sarah, with their appearance and behavior, are just painful to watch.
Let's go, Lily, Mike said.
Yes, we have a parents' meeting after the ceremony.
I glanced at John and Sarah, who were now slumped over, a stark contrast to their previous demeanor. At the parents' meeting, they will be electing PTA officers.
You two should also get to the parents' meeting. You're going to be late.
I said, knowing they might just stay frozen there for an hour or two more. Mike shook his head.
I just heard from the PTA president that John doesn't need to attend. We should be heading over soon.
Although puzzled, I started walking as Mike nudged me forward. However, this comment somehow revived John.
That's right. I'm special.
He boasted, regaining his confidence and starting to brag to me. That's right, I'm a big deal in this town. You might not know since you're from the next town, Mike. But I'm famous around here, right? I'm the only one exempt from the PTA. The teachers told me, John, you don't need to bother with PTA stuff, they're scared of me. Our neighborhood school had a dwindling number of children and had merged last year with the school in John's area. I was anxious about being in John's living area, never expecting our children to be the same age. I had let my guard down. John seemed to imply he had more influence than Mike in this town. I had been intimidated by Mike from the neighboring town, but it seemed John remembered this was his turf. Just moments ago, John was shrinking in front of the past Mike, and now this sudden change is hard to follow.
Really, do you actually believe that?
Mike sighed, holding his head.
You're not exempt from PTA duties because the couple is scared of you. Let me be clear, it's actually because you were excluded.
John and Sarah looked bewildered. It seems they truly believed they were special. Mike appeared calm but was speaking more than usual, clearly upset.
Do you actually fulfill the PTA duties assigned to you? No.
You don't, right? Instead, I've heard you just cause trouble and disrupt harmony. I've heard there were plenty of issues during the enrollment of your older children as well. John fell silent.
Come on, get it together. Don't let yourself be beaten by someone like Mike.
Sarah shook John, but his cheeks twitched in spasms. Mike caught Sarah's eye sharply.
And you, miss, is the rumor true that you neglect your children and PTA duties, too busy chasing after fathers you fancy?
Sarah also went silent. Looking down on them, Mike continued.
You said you didn't want to bother with PTA stuff.
So everyone, teachers and parents alike, agreed enthusiastically that you should stay out of it. Normally, you'd expect some complaints about unfairness, but there hasn't been a single one. That's how much of a nuisance you both are. Several parents listening nearby nodded in agreement. Those with older children are apparently well aware of John's bad reputation. John's face flushed with anger.
What? Don't make stuff up. I won't let it slide, even if you are Mike from the next town.
John yelled, spitting as he spoke.
Do you know what happens when you make me angry? My underlings will come running.
This outburst brought back unpleasant memories from the past. But I am no longer the person who used to be scared of him.
Underlings, you mean calling the younger guys?
Yeah, seriously.
Go ahead, call them, they come if you pay them, right?
Ha.
I hadn't realized during our marriage, but thinking back, John was just a cash cow for those younger men. John's family had some money, and he was always splashing cash around. I remember when my car was stuck in the mud, John handed over all the cash from his wallet to the younger man who helped us. At the barbecue, there was all-you-can-drink beer and high-quality Wagyu beef. Thinking about it, those juniors never responded to any invitations unless there was money or beer involved. They also frequently demanded money, saying things like, "Give me a special price, just a few $1,000s is fine."
How much would it take to hire someone to take down Mike from the next town?
John lost his momentum and hung his head. It seemed he was aware that his relationships were tied to money. Realizing I knew too, he suddenly felt embarrassed.
No, it's not like that.
If you think so, why don't you call them without showing any money?
Shut up. They won't come if there's no money, John.
Even if it costs $5,000 or $10,000, pay them to shut these people up. John has the money. Sarah slapped John on the back forcefully. John's bravado continued to deflate. Even Sarah was telling him to use money to fix the situation. It seems John's tales of valor were probably just lies. John, who had bought his status with his parents' money and was deluded about his position, was miserable.
I am great.
He muttered tearfully to himself, holding his head. Unable to endure the icy stares of those around him, John quietly moved toward the school gate. He walked with his head so bowed it seemed he couldn't see in front of him. Trying to disappear like a ghost, but of course, he was all too visible. Maybe I should stop saying anything more, out of pity. No, it's just plain pathetic.
Huck, John, where are you going? Going to get more funds from your mother-in-law?
But Sarah, oblivious to the mood, shouted and chased after John. Mike and I exchanged glances with the other parents and shared a wry smile. After that day, John and Sarah stopped showing up at the school. In a small town, rumors spread quickly. It turns out there were suspicions that not all of John's 5 children were actually his. Sarah had been busy chasing men at the children's kindergartens and schools, resulting in her being exempted, rather expelled, from the PTA. John hadn't known about this until Mike told him on the day of the entrance ceremony.
Wait, he didn't know about his wife's affairs.
Mike was surprised. He thought Sarah's infidelity was common knowledge, but apparently, it never reached John. With no real friends, just hangers-on treating him like a cash cow, no one had told him.
Wow, did I accidentally spill the beans about her cheating? Did I do something bad?
It's weirder that everyone else in town knew except John. It's not really your fault.
Weeks later, for some reason, John showed up at our house. In the countryside, addresses are easily obtained. I braced myself, thinking he came to complain, but John seemed calmer, like a weight had been lifted.
I divorced Sarah.
I was completely fooled by her. She thought marrying me meant no more worries about money. Then she just had fun, bore kids I don't even know if they're mine, all raised on my dime, funny, right? He laughed self-deprecatingly. Sarah was kicked out, and John's parents are looking after the kids. John suggested a DNA test, but his in-laws refused, worried about public image. They insist on raising them as their grandchildren. It's still unclear if John can even have kids. He must be wrestling with the desire to uncover the truth and the inability to accept it.
So, now Mom's mad about my spending, and I got kicked out too.
I was scared to hear more.
Can we start over? We don't need kids this time. I just want to be supported by your kindness, Lily.
It sent chills down my spine. I was firm in my response.
No way.
Don't say that. We were in love once, right?
So, you mean, now that your wealthy parents have disowned you, you can't manage on your own, so you need my support, right?
The juniors who hung around him for money wouldn't need John anymore. That's why he came to me, thinking he could somehow push his way back in.
No way.
It's not about the money. I just can't bear the thought of being near John anymore. Now completely alone, John struggles to survive in our small town, enduring the rumors and scraping by with odd jobs. Even in such dire circumstances, he lacks the courage to leave the town for the city. Sarah quickly caught a new man and seemed set to marry, but it ended up being a marriage scam that only cost her money. Over 40 and drowning in debt. When will she realize that she can no longer freely pick and play with men as she once did? Her life, dependent on men, seems doomed to a predictable path. I keep hearing these rumors, but soon I won't have to. We've decided to move as a family. Leaving the area where Mike grew up might be sad, but he seems to have reached his limit with this town too. Sam's class had only 18 students, with just 5 boys.
Mom, the next school has 4 classes just for the first graders.
There are over 100 of them. I could make 100 friends, isn't that amazing? Sam is looking forward to the new environment. There might still be quirky characters in the big city, but I believe there will be wonderful new encounters too.